All right, so Christian Spicer, it's time for us to dig into Marvel's Spider-Man 2 because you and I both got the game early from Sony. They provided us with codes, and we have both completed the game um, on PlayStation 5, which is exclusive too. So I guess that goes without saying. Um, and I'm curious, as someone like me who was a huge fan of the previous two Insomniac Spider-Mans, Spider-Man and Miles Morales, I believe was one of those our game of the year, our show's game of the year. I want to say the first one was
That's a pretty
maybe
safe guess, but I
pretty
did
safe
not
guess.
look. I did not do that prep for this episode. But that's a safe
May
guess
have
for
been. If
sure.
it wasn't, it was darn close because we both went gaga for that game and for Miles Morales. Now Spider-Man 2, you play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in alternating moments of the game. It is a single player experience, but you can hop back and forth between Peter and Miles, and the main campaign's big story intersects those characters, and they are doing along with Mary Jane Watson. They are the centerpiece of the story. What do you think, Christian? Is it a worthy successor to two very excellent games?
So implied earlier, I want to explicitly say this is going to be a spoiler-free review
Yes.
for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. We will do a spoiler chat that will be its own thing in your RSS that you'll see. So don't worry, there will be no spoilers here. I think that off the top, this trilogy, which I'm going to include Miles Morales as I know is kind of that sequel expansion type game, but I think this trilogy of Marvel Spider Man 1, Miles Morales, and now Spider Man 2 is the best superhero trilogy game franchise that has come out so far. To
Oh
me,
wow.
it tops the Arkham franchise. And a lot
Which
of
is high
that
praise from you because that's one of your favorite games of all time.
also
Wow.
were several of my games of the year, I'm sure,
Yeah.
favorite of the year, the years they came out. I think what puts this trilogy and this franchise ahead, and so much of it is done also now on the back of Spider-Man 2, is the technical prowess that Insomniac is firing on. This game feels PlayStation 5 only. It feels next gen in terms of the loading, the fast traveling, the mechanics that come into play that take, it seems, full advantage of what the PlayStation 5 has to offer. The characters, Craven is, I mean, you've seen the trailers in game, just incredible. And it goes from cutscene back into gameplay in a way where there were times where I was like, oh, I got to pick my controller back up. Like I'm playing. It is that flawless between watching and playing it and the cinematic moments while you're playing. It continues that trend that they started in the first game of bringing those cinematic finishers and flourishes. And even when it's not a finishing move, the fluidity in which you're able to move around the environment and in this combat, it feels cinematic. It brings you in for those hard hits, but yet is wide enough for you to have the mobility in these spaces. And to tackle it with a character like Spider-Man, I am just continually impressed. And this game features one of my favorite set piece moments of any game I've ever played. I don't know if I can go back in time and be like, how does this compare to the Jeep chase of Uncharted 4 in that moment for me? But now in 2023, this moment for me now as it exists, it is my favorite gaming set piece that I've ever experienced. And what is again happening technically in those moments, coming in and out from different scenarios, inside a building, outside a building, sitting on top of Avengers Tower and looking across the river and knowing that I can go to Brooklyn. There's not going to be a single load time for visible load time that I perceive unless I choose to fast travel. In all of these moments, as golden hour is coming down and I'm pulled from a open world stop a crime moment right into a set piece moment, and even those open world moments where another character, Miles or Peter, shows up to aid in those things and the world chatter. There is so much richness that I feel like Insomniac has crescendoed to this game based off the other two.
Can you
Absolutely incredible.
can you vaguely reference what the set piece you're mentioning is, just so I know?
I texted you about it.
Oh, you did? Okay, well, go back and look.
Man, it's funny. I'm not, just so the listener knows, I am not privy to this at all. I haven't played Spider-Man 2 at all. I don't have an early copy. So now you guys have got me just stoked for that. I can't wait.
I'm playing. I have a 120 hertz screen. I'm playing in the 40 frames per second, VRR mode with the fanciest ray tracing. I think it's incredible that it pre-launched with that. Like not only was that ready at day one, it was when we were sitting here playing it, and I just love these characters. You Jeff, you say you're a Marvel zombie from way back. I love Spider-Man. I have my symbiote suit sideshow collectible.
Yeah, no, get it out of there. Oh, sorry, no.
on right now that I am wearing. No,
bad idea.
Jeff, let me finish. You always interrupt me. You think this show's about you.
Hey, it's Tom Hardy.
It's so, I'm biased to this character. All of that said, Jeff, Bruce, and listener, the back fourth, or I should also say, I haven't platinumed the game, but I feel like I have everything but. I think my character, when I last texted you, Jeff, I think I was 55. I'm past that now, like 50 level, character level 57, whatever. I've done rolled credits and then played another 10, 15 hours in this game. The back quarter or the back fifth of the story, I actively disliked. Actively disliked. People might love it. It's not for me. Comics fans will recognize parts of it and they might love it. Those comics aren't for me. And then the other nit that I have about it, Jeff, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. The other nit I have about the game have continued in the franchise. And I understand why they're there for pacing, because you can't just be swinging and kicking butt all the time for 50 hours or 30 hours or whatever, you end up spending with the game. But there's a reason why the moments when you're not in suit swinging and butt kicking are never in any of the trailers because they're not what sells this game. No one looks at those in the first Spider-Man game as you're playing as MJ or as you're walking around as Miles and Miles Morales solving puzzles. They're not great. I understand for pacing, and I think there are some great character moments there, but playing them, I was never like, yes, woo! Miles about to solve another puzzle. Here we go, baby. It's not fun. It's not fun. So I wanted to say all the high praise and get Bruce jazzed first instead of doing my usual here are my nits. Now let me sing its praises. I love this game. Dislike the back quarter fifth of the story a lot, and found those change of paces to be, there has to be a better way, but Insomniac I don't think has found it just yet.
Oh, I hate it when I agree with you, Christian. I hate it when I agree with you. I also want to state that this is one of the greatest video games ever made, on a just skill level, on a prowess of delivering an experience to a player. Insomniac is basically competing with themselves at this
100%.
point. And I don't think they surpassed themselves. I think this is, of the 3 Spider-Man games, my least favorite, which is like saying it's the worst cupcake of the lot. Like, it's still a cupcake.
This pizza's terrible. Jeff, you ate the whole thing and it was a extra large.
I ate
Indeed.
3 slices. This was my least favorite slice. I devoured all of them, and they were delicious.
Yeah.
But I like those first 2 slices a little bit more. This is a tremendous achievement of a video game. It is a tremendous achievement. The combat is absolutely sublime. I think the first Spider-Man game was getting to great combat. Miles Morales got to great combat, and this has made the combat utterly perfection.
I think
it is better
skills in addition to abilities.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. The upgrade path is much better than in the previous games. The pure improvisational joy of taking down dozens of enemies at a time. This is something that the Arkham games pioneered, and used to do best, I think Spider-Man has surpassed it.
I agree.
It is absolutely joyous to just wade into overwhelming odds, swing back and forth between enemies, shooting off gadgets and super skills that are recharging just in time and healing myself and then doing a finisher, and then all of that symphony of Spider-Man-ness, Spider-Mania is it's unparalleled. It is superlative. And I will also say the storytelling is very good. It is just the manner in which the story is conveyed and how much time they take setting things up and getting you to care about these characters. Nothing is shortcutted. Well, that's not true. Some things are, but the relationships aren't. The relationships aren't. You really, it takes the time to like let you stroll with, you know, with these characters and like see a relationship between Peter and Mary Jane and see the relationship between Miles and his mom and other relationships that I don't go into for spoilers.
And
but
I would say Genki's great in this game, and it's not like
underserved. I think
underserved,
underserved.
but when on, I thought was awesome. Like I like how
Yeah.
a talking head could have character, you know, and
I
like
agree.
be part of the team.
And I love the fact that they take the time, they slow burn something that everybody who's seen the marketing knows is coming, right? Slow burn it hard. And I think there's really lovely moments building up and getting, you know, really feeling for these characters. And honestly, they're at this point now where like a new sequel to a Spider-Man game is really, for me, more about what's the next beat in the story than it is what's the cool new feature they're going to add to the game mechanically. Because, and I think that's an amazing thing. Like that's not something that most franchises can rely on, because unfortunately it is still true, in my opinion, that video game storytelling tends to be the second tier thing in priority level, right?
Oh, I completely agree, by the way. Completely agree with that.
Thanks. I felt that way about, you know, the Uncharted games, where it's like I'm tuning in not because I'm excited about what's the next thing that Nathan Drake's going to be.
I completely agree, Jeff.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for hours, by the way.
Oh, feel free to chime in. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I've lost you both. I've lost you both. That's our show. Thank you
Chris,
for listening.
I'm not criticizing.
I know.
Hear me
I
out.
know.
I'm saying Uncharted is like that too, where it's like I'm not tuning in to see what's the next cool thing that Nathan Drake can do in his arsenal of things to do. Whereas, I hate to say it, but it's true, I am playing the next Halo game because this one has a grappling hook. That's cool. Right. Yeah. I don't care what happens to Master Chief. And I know there are people who do. I'm just talking about my subjective opinion. I don't play Halo for the storytelling. I don't play most games for the storytelling. And it's awesome to be playing a franchise for the storytelling, because I'm excited to find out what's going on with Peter and Miles and the surrounding cast. And they do a very, very good job. That said, I would go farther than you, Christian, and say it's the last third of the game.
Oh, wow.
There are two main villains in this game, and there is a transition point between them. And after that transition happens, I think the game gets significantly worse. And it's still an amazing game, and I'm still having a blast, and I still finished it. But the first 2/3 of the game are so tight and awesome and make sense and hold together, and there's tension and there's all this great stuff. And then the thing we all know is coming comes, and it just isn't, it doesn't work. And I think there's a tension between what a superhero story wants to establish, which is a singular villain being fought by our heroes, and what a video game requires, which is dozens and dozens and dozens of enemies to take on, right? There's a tension there. And I think this game really tries to reckon with that and try some creative solutions. I don't think the second half of, or the last third of the game, the solution is very good. And I also think one of the ways it tries to deal with that is like these really prolonged, intense boss fights that we're right on the verge for me of being like, this is too much. It's too much. It goes on too long. Bosses will have 4, 5, even 6 phases to beating them, which is an entire health bar, right? And this could be a whole other episode of feeling this, actually, Christian, is I just defeated your entire health bar, cutscene, new health bar.
You have four dots
I
below your
know
health
about the
bar, Jeff.
dots.
How
I
many
know
dots
about
do
the
you?
dots.
You got to have dots below your health bar.
I know
You
about the
can't-
dots.
Jeff, you must hate From Software games.
I don't. I tend not to play them.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, 'cause that's what that is. Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
No. By the way, but I'm not crazy about them either. Just so you know.
Oh, good. Okay, we're on the same page.
I played them.
Psychologically, it bothered. Psychologically, I'm like, I feel like I did something, and now I also feel like you just went, no, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. You thought you did something, but you didn't do anything. And I don't know. Psychologically, it doesn't feel great. That's a minor nit. The bigger nit. One of the things. This game is kind of not afraid to be goofy. It's frequently goofy. Like, Christian, would you agree with that? Like, it does goofy stuff.
I mean, I will not. There is.
We'll talk about it in spoilers, but
yeah, there are lines that I can't tell if they're goofy or they're just.
But like, it
miss
asks
the
you
tone,
to do
if
goofy
that makes
stuff.
sense.
Like there's some things in that are like endearingly goofy, and then there's
Yes.
other things where it's like, why am I doing like this game? You can correct me if the previous Spider-Man games had this, and I'm just not remembering it. I don't remember it being just a wash in mini games. This game has so many mini games in it.
There were, but the variety of these feel more. I mean, even Miles Morales had like go collect sound samples, and you like, I just saved the day. Now it's like, oh, that sound, I can use that in a beat, and it's like, Miles, you would not. Okay, tap this beat to collect that sound.
At a certain point, it's like, at a certain point, it felt to me like the game wasn't confident enough in its own prowess, and I'm like, do you even know how hot you are, game? Do you even know how? Just be yourself.
It's so good.
Like,
It's
you
so
don't even
good
know
when
how
it's
much
good.
how hot you are. Just be you. Don't try to be something you're not, because you're hot. Everybody wants you, and like when it's doing its thing, there's nothing better. But it constantly is. It felt to me like it was constantly afraid of losing my attention and constantly had to give me some new weird thing to do. And I'm like, I don't need all of those things. I like you just how you are. But
At least they didn't give you a Spider-Mobile and have you play a third of the game in your Spider-Mobile. Because, I mean, Batman, I think, suffered through that same problem.
Yeah,
that same design
right.
of, like, we have perfected this thing. How do we raise the bar on the next one? Everybody's like, just tell us this story. Let us do more of this. And they're like, what if we gave you a Batmobile? I mean, I guess that'd be cool, but it's not going to change how we traverse the world, is it? It will.
it will force it. Will force you to do it.
What
That's
I think
the
is
other thing that this game forces some things on you. That's like, I like a parry. I like a parry. A parry is fun. I mostly prefer dodges to parries. But then the game is like, no. You're gonna have to parry, bro. We force you to. We force you to. We force you to do stealth stuff sometimes. And it's like, but I want to choose to do the stealth stuff. And they're like, no, there's a whole levels where you just have to do it. Sorry, you have to. It's like, but must I? Yes, you must. Okay. I want to say another really positive thing about this game that is extraordinary and is a design triumph, in my opinion. And that is, for a massive open world game that has so many different kinds of quests, so many different, it is that thing that, Christian, you often complain about with Ubisoft games, where if you open the map, it is riddled with dots, riddled with points of interest and quest things to do. However, I almost never open the map in this game. Almost never, because you don't have to. It is extraordinary how they have managed to create visual notifications of what is going on in the city simply by swinging and flying over it. Each of the quests has a different kind of effect on the city that is represented graphically, but contextually. It's not like there's a giant icon sticking out of like, here's an arrow for a quest. Instead, the buildings have changed in some way. There's a glowing light because there's a collectible that lets off light. It's like in context of how it would actually be. And just by swinging through the city, I'm going, oh, there's something over there that I can do. Oh, I know that's a hideout I can bust because of how the city is communicating that, rather than most games, which make me go into a menu and go, oh, there's something nearby. It's a triumph of design, which more games need to learn from and contextually show me that stuff. It doesn't make the city look weird, and it actually works in the framework of the city. It doesn't feel like, oh, video game. It really does still feel like New York City, but there are these subtle visual cues that let me know what quests are where, and it's awesome. It's amazing. And also, I think the wingsuit stuff
Phenomenal.
is pretty cool.
I really liked it. I mean, I think they stealth
agree.
could have made us. This is the blueprint for a Superman game. Like, you're not flying as
Agreed.
fast as Superman might fly, but
Except it has to be effortless for Superman, and part of the fun is that it's not effortless for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think they've proven out how you could do it. Again, Insomniac, I feel like they have, going from, a great game of its time, but the Spider-Man PlayStation 1 game, way back when it's like fog everywhere, to this game where you are flying or zipping through a city with no. Digital Foundry might do a video that shows like, look, this antenna pops in, but for my eyes, no noticeable pop in or jank or stutter. It's just like, I am here. I'm going to go where my family and I got ice cream in Brooklyn, and I'm going to do it in real time and go there, and everything just, it's incredible.
One of the things you unlock fast travel to different districts of New York, different sections of New York in this game, which I don't think is how it worked in the previous ones. But I never used it, because it's just fun to get around. It's fun to get, and the one thing that the Spider-Man games was always a little bit of a bummer is when you start swinging over Central Park and it's like, there's no buildings. This is annoying. I fell on the ground. They've fixed that by giving you a wingsuit. So now you just wing your way, and you can hitch a ride on these cool gusts of air that shoot you even faster. And it's like, just getting around is a blast. Fighting is a blast. The story is mostly good except for the ending, and the last third, I would say. And again, these are kind of like minor nits to what is really one of the most entertaining video game experiences available. It's just like, you got to kind of compare it to previous Spider-Man games, because that's the only thing in its league at this point. And I just don't think it lives up to the previous two games, but not by a lot. Like, not in the I wouldn't recommend you play it way.
I would say Miles Morales is I'd probably go Miles Morales, the first Spider-Man. That'd probably be my. Miles
Really?
is just so tight.
Mine is Miles, the
It
first
is.
Spider-Man, then this. Yeah.
No,
But they're
this is
all
good.
just incredible.
Man,
And
I'm so excited.
yeah,
you
you're
got me
gonna
so
have a
excited for
blast.
this.
It's so much
can't
fun.
wait. I can't wait.
The other thing I need to say, and this may be, again, we played the game. It still hasn't come out yet. We're talking about it. We played the game completely before it was released, so there may be a day one patch that addresses some of this. But I should say, it hard crashed on me 3 times. Hard crash, and then there were other glitches that I ran into. I don't think that has ever happened with a PlayStation 5 game, where it literally crashed to the OS and said, this app cannot continue, full crash to OS. It happened 3 times. One of the times it was a really annoying, like, middle of a boss fight where I'm like, come on. So hopefully that gets fixed. I know, Christian, you had some crashes as well, right?
I did. Mine were never I had 2 crashes over, however many hours I've played with this game so far, but they all felt. It feels weird to say like they were good crashes compared to what I'll talk about my 2 out of 10 here in a little bit. Other crashes and like in the year of 2023, this game is competent, beyond competent. But yes, I also did have crashes, but maybe I'm more forgiving of them than I otherwise should be. They were not in the middle of a boss fight. I had to restart the thing, and I was right back where I was. Would it be better without them? Yes. I don't want to wash my hands and say it's fine like this. But another game I loved was Jedi Survivor, and I still love that game. And I had a way harder time playing Jedi Survivor.
Fair enough. Yeah, I wanted to mention it because it is frustrating, and it is something I have not seen from a major PS5 release where literally the game just blue screen of death to me,
Wow.
which is just pretty hardcore. All right. So that's Spider-Man 2. Again, we're going to do a full spoiler discussion. It'll go to patrons first. But I'm excited to talk in detail about the story with you, Christian, because like I said, the story is, I think, the selling point here. I mean, the combat is wonderful. The traversal is wonderful. The playing of the game is great too. But it really is telling the next chapter in this very specific version of these characters, which I love how they've carved out their own little world of Spider-Man, their own version of these events, who has lived and who has died from the previous games, carries over, the story carries over. We've even seen Peter sort of get a little bit older over the course of these 3 games. It's cool. So I'm excited to talk about the story with you, Christian, and we'll do that very, very soon.
And I think a lot of the side missions are very good. There are not in all of them, but some of them, it's not until you get deep into it and it's like, oh, there's a boss fight here.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't tell you, it's not like start this to go fight Silver Surfer. I'm lying, that's not a real thing, but like, it doesn't tell you like go do the Silver Surfer missions. But then I'm going through these mini games or just these rote side missions. Then I'm like, does anyone else know what's happening? This is a major moment. Like, this could have been Spider-Man 4. This is just okay. This is a side mission. Here we go. Which I thought
I really enjoyed. There's a couple of side missions that are like flashbacks also
Yeah.
to stuff we've never seen in these games that like happened before the game started, that I thought was kind of charming and a cool idea for them to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 is undoubtedly one of the best games of the year, in my opinion. It is an extraordinarily fun experience that delivers a superhero video game experience like almost unparalleled. But we do have nits. All right. Another big game that came out